the besieged territory after supposed sirens went off in Tel Aviv earlier. Gaza says 2 rockets were fired at Tel Aviv. It's the first time that sirens went off in Tel Aviv since 2014. And then Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli premier, held an immediate meeting with military officials, and supposedly this is the response. Although all of Gaza have denied any involvement, the resistance movements in Gaza said they had nothing to do with bombs or a missiles launched towards Tel Aviv in any capacity this evening. And it seems like we finally have our Gaza correspondent online, Ashraf Shannon, joining us out of Gaza City. Hello, Ashraf. We have live images up right now. We could hear all these bombs going off in the distance from our viewpoint here. What can you tell us?
Well, just seconds ago, the whole building where we are right now shook from an explosion that was very close to comfort, at least for us. At least 10 air raids were carried out by the Israeli Air Force against the Gaza Strip ever since Israel alleged 2 rockets were fired from Gaza. But so far, no one has claimed responsibility. In the beginning, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad denied any involvement. After that, the Popular Resistance Committees also denied any involvement. And finally, Hamas announced that it had nothing to do with the rockets that were fired. These attacks, or the rockets that were fired allegedly from Gaza, and now the situation with the Israeli airstrikes. This happened just several hours after the Egyptian mediation team was in Gaza talking to the Palestinian factions about reaching some truce with the Israeli regime. But all of a sudden, the Egyptian mediators left the Gaza Strip following the rockets that fell on Tel Aviv. It's going to be a very hot night, at least in Gaza, as far as the people here are concerned. People are bracing themselves for the possibility of a major Israeli escalation, mainly because of the upcoming Israeli elections in April. And we've seen over the past 2 weeks an escalation of tension, escalation of Israeli violence against the Palestinians. While the Palestinians in Gaza for almost a year now have been protesting peacefully near the security fence with the Israeli regime, while the Israeli military retaliated with brutality and caused and killed some 250 peaceful protesters, including women and children, journalists and paramedics, and 1,000 more were injured, Daniel.
And Ashraf, last time there was an escalation and all-out war with Gaza, we know there was well over 250 or 2,260 Gazans that were killed, and you were telling us a figure over 500 children alone under the age of 16, murdered, and their apartments and homes flattened while they were inside.
I mean, there is a possibility that this scenario could be repeated tonight in case Palestinian resistance groups retaliate to the Israeli airstrikes. And I've heard some rumors that rockets were fired, not rockets, basically mortar shells, a few mortar shells were fired from Gaza in retaliation to the recent Israeli airstrikes over the past hour. So if that situation continues, a tit-for-tat situation, they're upping the ante, and we're going to end up in a major war.
And why did Tel Aviv hold off on this this raid this time of night when both Hamas and Islamic Jihad issued a statement denying any responsibility for those 2 alleged rockets fired into Tel Aviv earlier?
Well, basically, Israel says that anything happens in Gaza is Hamas's responsibility, as Hamas controls the Gaza since 2007 after routing forces loyal to Mahmoud Abbas' faction, Fatah. And now anything that happens here, if a child or something does anything in Gaza, Israel immediately blames Hamas and targets Hamas and attacks Hamas targets. So basically some statements from the Israeli military saying no matter who fired the rockets, Hamas is going to pay for it.
And now, do we have anything as far as any kind of report as far as casualties with respect to what Israel is doing right now over the skies of Gaza?
Up to this minute, no casualties were reported, but still, you have to understand the situation here. There is a state of panic among the Palestinians in Gaza. Nearly 2 million inhabitants of this tiny coastal sliver that's been blockaded since 2007. They're not able to sleep. It's 2 a.m. in the morning, and it's past 2 a.m. in the morning in Gaza, and nobody has gone to sleep because everybody expects some sort of escalation tonight. It's extremely cold, the weather is extremely cold, and people have cracked the windows of their homes, fearing that from the airstrikes, from the windows could be shattered and injure them, if they're not from the rockets, but from the sound booms.
Okay, Ashraf, we're going to check back with you shortly. Meanwhile, I want you to be safe and hang on there. And thanks for that update. Our own Press TV's Ashraf Shannon there, everyone, joining us out of Gaza City. Live image there out of Gaza Strip, where the territory is under siege by Israeli warplanes. We will